Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto manga chapter review. This one's going to be for chapter 10, which is called My Story. And yeah, we finally have some more new content. It's not completely new in that I do think this chapter more represents like showing the epilogue of the movie, but expanding on that to transition into the new story. In that, I think 11 is going to be like the big one where like it's all new content. Here we still have a couple of the scenes that are, I think, directly from the movie, just given a slightly different context, and then set up for like why Boruto is like an important main character because of what he did at the end of the movie. So a lot of interesting things to talk about this time out. The most notable thing would be Boruto's new mark, and the potential power that means, and I suppose the destiny that he's kind of given. He's been given this kind of curse, this almost prophecy about what he will do in the future because of what he did now. So basically what happens is in the immediate aftermath of the battle, Boruto kind of walks off from Sasuke and Naruto, and basically time stops. The spirit of Momoshiki appears before him and basically talks to Boruto and says, you can feel our presence. And Momoshiki refers to Boruto as Son of Man. Very, very interesting about that, but I'll just read the quotes out here from Momoshiki. Just going through the page. I see. You have the blood of You have the blood of one with the Byakugan mixed within you. Even with the power I possess and the Byakugan, I'm unable to foresee my own fate, but I can see your fate quite clearly. Pay heed, those blue eyes of yours will one day take everything from you. And be self-aware that once someone has defeated a god, they cease to be an ordinary person. That fate, bite down firmly on it and continue to walk the path, O Son of Man. And we get this repeated at the end of the chapter when we get the reveal of Boruto's new diamond mark on his the palm of his right hand. So very interesting what they're presenting here. Immediately he's given a mark on his hand by Momoshiki, because I think you see in the art Momoshiki grabbing Boruto by his right hand, which is the injured one after the attack. So he has that power, which obviously we assume later develops into the tattoo type power that he seems to have in the first couple of pages of Boruto chapter 1, which is the kind of full blue, really intricate tattoo. And we assume if we ever in chapter 1 had seen the palm of his hand, we probably would have seen that diamond mark. It's probably some way of like activating it, where like once he properly learns what the mark means and what the power it possesses, he probably can eventually make it activate to some degree, and it probably, I suppose, maybe grows over time depending on Boruto's power level, where like initially it's maybe just a little bit on his hand, and then it eventually becomes his whole arm type thing. And then it also sort of sets up this idea of like, why does Kawaki have that power? Because the implication from this chapter is that Boruto is given this power because he basically killed a god. That Naruto and Sasuke don't have it because they only like sealed Kaguya away. They never killed her. Whereas Boruto here has actually probably killed Momoshiki, killed an Otsutsuki, and is given this power. Now, is that what they're setting up, this idea of this mark being like the mark of someone who has killed a god, and that god kind of curses them with this power, which gives them power, but it kind of makes them walk this path that potentially could lead to destruction. And it's stuff like the fact that he refers to Boruto twice as Son of Man. Presenting the idea that I don't think is talked about enough, but that the Otsutsuki are a different species. They're not just humans who happen to have a different family name. They're a completely different species of being, basically. And it's them who basically bring the idea of chakra into the world. And people have all of these powers because it's like humans mixing together with Otsutsuki. So the almost idea that we're getting here is that because Boruto actually has the kind of closest connection to a degree with an Otsutsuki, because of the whole idea of the Byakugan being one of the key powers of the Otsutsuki, as like a natural power that they possess. I think they're really heavily going into that. That because Boruto has Hyuga blood, in addition to, obviously Uzumaki blood, which is another part of it, that he, now because he has this kind of god curse mark, is probably as close to an Otsutsuki as you can potentially get from a human. I think that's potentially what they're going for, this idea that Boruto is now, like, in a way, I suppose, are we meant to kind of see him as like a demigod type situation where he is still a human and can die in the same way? He's not like a god and any more powerful than a normal human, beyond the fact that his genetics mean he is quite a powerful ninja, but that he is now technically somewhat of a human with godlike powers, or the potential to have them. Is that why they're doing? Is that why they're referring to him as like son of man? That like he's the best of humanity in a way, because of his powers. And then the other thing is the whole idea of the blue eyes kind of situation here. We get, obviously, he says that once someone has defeated God, they cease to be an ordinary person. So Boruto has a fate now to him, as a destiny as a character, because he's defeated God. And Momoshiki wants Boruto to walk that path very clearly. Those blue eyes of yours will one day take everything from you. So the idea that something about Boruto's eyes, whether that be he gets the Byakugan, maybe the Tensaigan or whatever it's called, that they will do something with Boruto, giving him an eye power, and that will lead to some sort of ruin within the Leaf Village somehow. That maybe Momoshiki is within Boruto to a degree and can take over Boruto. Maybe something like that. We're not fully sure. But still, setting up something with his eyes, setting up something with the mark that he now has, that instantly makes him a really interesting and unique character, plus the path that he kind of, in the rest of the chapter, puts himself on, with regards to, he doesn't want to be Hokage. He actually wants to be the one to support Sarada, who wants to become the Hokage. He wants to be the Sasuke to Sarada's the Sasuke to Naruto, to Sarada's Naruto. Sorry, I said that horribly. But that's the idea, that even though it initially seems that like, oh, Boruto, after this big event, is now set up basically to become the next Hokage in a way, but no, he actually wants to go down the path of Sasuke, and then equally so, Sarada doesn't just want to become an elite shinobi within the village. She actually wants to become the first Uchiha Hokage. So I like that their arcs are different, but they're combined still, in that Boruto wants to protect Sarada. But yeah, fascinating where they're going with this, and that like Himawari, Boruto's sister, has the Byakugan already. Boruto doesn't have that as far as we're aware. So when is that going to happen? When is he going to unlock that? And how does it relate to his actual tattoo powers? What are the powers of the tattoo? Why do the tattoos become more prevalent on his body and so on? So I'm thinking that we are potentially delving a little bit more into the fact that the Otsutsukis are like from like a different dimension, and that we're going to kind of maybe delve into the fact that like, obviously the characters in the Naruto world are like humans, but they're humans who basically come from a line of like humans mixed with Otsutsuki members who are a different kind of species altogether. We may be delving a little bit into that, and what the actual biology of like other species within the Naruto universe actually is. Maybe that's super heavy lore speculation that probably won't come into play. But still, if indeed Boruto has the tattoos because he killed a god, does that mean Kawaki from the first chapter also killed a god to have his tattoos, or what? What other god is there for Kawaki to kill? Does he go up to where Kagi is sealed and properly like finish her off or something? Where's the other Otsutsuki member for him to actually like take out? We're not entirely sure, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, well, let's talk about some of the other stuff. We get some nice Naruto and Sasuke stuff, and Sasuke has a bit more going on as well. I like their little scene here. They're both kind of like, cut and bruises after the battle, and we have this idea that Naruto's kind of like, just how long Sasuke are you going to keep up with this rival thing anyways, that he just wants to be like a friend with Sasuke, not always have to have this, keep this rivalry going forever, that like we have to surpass each other. But Sasuke just replies, at the very least until I pull ahead of you. So that right now, Sasuke still sees Naruto as being slightly ahead of him, and he wants to surpass him, and that kind of keeps Sasuke going. Even though he's much friendlier within the village and much more helpful, he still has that rivalry with Naruto. So that's nice to see. And Naruto just notes that this event here, this is more of your victory than mine. Even though I was helpful here, you helped Boruto to kind of walk down this path and become the ninja he's meant to be. You're the one training him, and the victory here is because of you, in a way. That, you know, the true essence of a ninja never changes, no matter how much the times may change. That, I think, is meant to kind of be the theme of Boruto going forward. That as we're entering an era where there's more technology, potentially people want to move away from the idea of ninjas and the way the world is, that the true essence of a ninja is important, and it represents something that goes beyond just, I suppose, the need for a ninja within the world. The other thing to talk about here is that apparently, even though time stopped and Naruto was very clearly stopped, we get the implication at the end that Sasuke, with his Rinnegan or maybe a Sharingan power, was able to at least hear some, maybe all, of what Momoshiki and Boruto were talking about. So Sasuke very clearly is aware that something at the very least is up with Boruto. And so I think that's setting up a really interesting master and student relationship here, in that if he has heard all of it, Sasuke may be trying his best to keep Boruto on the right path, to stop him from potentially fulfilling this kind of prophecy that Momoshiki has presented for him. So by very carefully training him in terms of how he develops his powers and so on, we could get some very interesting development between those two. I suppose in the sense of like Orochimaru kind of, in a way, pushed Sasuke down a path by training him. Like Sasuke may be trying to train him to kind of keep him from being influenced massively by Momoshiki, but we'll progress from here. The other key points are that we get basically, I think, the setup for the rest of the series of like who Boruto's key rivals are going to be, at least early on. And I think very clearly it's meant to be Shikamaru's son, and then also Gaara's son or adopted son, whatever it's meant to be, Shinki. Because we get a little scene here with the new Inoshika-Cho generation, where they specifically note with Shikadai that like he overdid it at the tuning exams. It was very out of character for him to go so far into training, so he would beat Boruto. So there's clearly somewhat of a rivalry set up there, and I like that. That maybe it's going to be more of our friendly rivalry type situation, but that it is something that at least with Shikadai, he actually wants to be there with Boruto and kind of surpass him in a way. But I don't think it has as much impact as potentially what's being set up with Shinki, who's obviously Gaara's son or whatever, as I said. And we see that Shinki has kind of become lost in thought about Boruto. He can't stop thinking about him because that his initial impression of Boruto was that he's foolish, reckless, nothing more than a trivial low-class ninja. But still, he went face to face with a great, powerful opponent he was no match for in the slightest, and he defeated him. And when we get to the root of what's going on here, Gaara kind of says, like, I was the one who held you back, I didn't give you permission to fight, you couldn't have been there. He says that whether I had your permission or not, I could not see myself winning in that situation. So he's kind of presenting this difference in, I suppose, their kind of personalities, their ideals, what drives them. That Boruto may not be as skilled as Shinki right now. Shinki may represent more of what like a standard shinobi is, but he didn't necessarily have maybe the bravery, the will, the way of the ninja to just go in there, even if the power levels were completely insane. That Boruto, because of the journey he went on in the movie arc, the adaptation, was willing to do this to kind of make up for everything that went wrong. That he is reckless and willing to make those decisions, kind of like Naruto. Whereas I suppose Shinki is maybe more representing the kind of Sasuke thing of having a more standard approach. So that's going to be really interesting to see, like potentially Shinki pushing himself to train, pushing himself to become better, so that he maybe is more like Naruto. Because I suppose the whole idea of like Naruto and Gaara's rivalry was more so kind of like that. That's I think what this is meant to be. This is the next generation of the Naruto-Gaara kind of friendship rivalry type situation, of where Naruto's kind of more kind of emotions and like being aware of the situation, his more kind of firecracker personality, in many ways helps in certain situations versus Gaara's more kind of laid back style. So something like that is pretty interesting. And then one of his teammates does note that if you were to go up against Uzumaki Boruto, you would most certainly win without a doubt. Then you'd be even with him, right? So kind of setting up that potentially in some time in the future, one of the first key fights we may see is Boruto versus Shinki. But Gaara just kind of asks Shinki to be like, instead of worrying about how fast the guy next to you is walking, just look forward. You need to find your own ninja way first and go forward. So the thing with Shinki is potentially he doesn't know what his ninja way is. He's powerful, but what's driving him to be a ninja? So that's going to be fun to see where exactly that goes. Fun little moment with Boruto and his jacket, just the idea that he's no longer going to wear Naruto's jacket. He's going to wear his own one that we know him as, but he's not going to constantly get new versions of it and stuff like that. If it gets damaged, he's going to get it repaired, and it's going to be his jacket in the same way that Naruto has always had his kind of, you know, one or two key outfits. And he just says, yeah, this one's cool, and Naruto notes that it's a change within his son. And then we get the full, I suppose, conclusion of how much Naruto and Boruto's relationship, father and son, has progressed. When they both go out to do their kind of jobs, Boruto is a ninja, and Naruto is the Hokage. And Boruto, most notably, says, good luck at work today, 7th. He calls him by his title. I think the implication being that for one of the first times ever. And it's meant to be a little joke between them, but it is a nice moment to just show that. Boruto respects why Naruto is so busy and respects his title now and is willing to kind of go ahead with that. So just that. And yeah, that leads into the scene with the new team of Sarada, Boruto, and Mitsuki. Mitsuki thinking that because Boruto's so famous now, he's going to be the next Hokage, and him basically relaying to Sarada that, let me get the right quotes here. He says, I don't think so when asked if he wants to become Hokage. You're the one that's going to become Hokage, right? In that case, I'll play the support role and do whatever it takes to protect you. And I think another notable thing here is that we, in the manga, I think especially for the first time, get the idea that Sarada is developing, or now has developed, a crush on Boruto because his development in the movie has kind of transformed him into someone that she's actually interested in. He says, to me, Hokage is nothing more than a rail. Since both my grandpa and dad were Hokage, I don't want to end up walking the same path as them. What I'm aiming for, Sarada, is to become a ninja like your dad. And she just notes this. You know, I'm going to do this according to my own ninja way. And she just, to herself, as she's blushing, is kind of like, what's going on here? You know, it's just Boruto. Why is he suddenly so cool? That she never felt this way about him before, but now she's kind of beginning to. And then another notable thing, going back to the whole blue eye thing, why that's so important, she says, your eyes, they're much bluer than the 7th. And then he remembers the whole pay heed, you know, those blue eyes of yours will one day take everything from you. And the only thing I can think about is that, is the whole take everything from you meant to represent that it may lead to, at some point, him hurting or potentially killing Sarada in the future? I think that's the only way you can connect the whole idea of Sarada randomly saying your eyes are bluer than your father's to the whole important prophecy type situation of that, like, the everything may be the person he really cares about. If indeed Boruto and Sarada develops into an important relationship, that could be the everything that's being talked about here. But yeah, the plot setup for the next time out is basically just that Boruto and his team, as well as Konohamaru, who's their team leader, they're going out on a mission. There's an important target. We don't know how big the mission exactly is, but as he's just about to set out on the mission, he takes the bandages off his hand and reveals the diamond mark. So revealing the diamond mark, and we obviously get the text on the page saying not an ordinary person. So this mark makes him no longer an ordinary person. And we just end with just this idea of, you know, he doesn't care about fates or curses. His ninja way, you know, go ahead and give him your best shot. And finishing off with just, I am a ninja, and if nothing else, this is my story now. Just highlighting the fact that from here on out, chapter 11 onwards, this is the new story with Boruto, with his new fate, new destiny. He's no longer an ordinary person, and things are different now because of what has just happened. So, wrapping this up, I really liked the chapter. I wasn't expecting the story to, I think, be this interesting going forward. I still think they have to commit to like whatever's happening next. Like, is the mission that they're going on a Land of Waves-esque mission, or is it just some random like capture a bear, capture a cat type mission? That's what it's going to be about. And then other than that, I think just like they need to commit to giving like Sarada an arc, Mitsuki an arc, and developing other characters in addition to Boruto. But Boruto is now super interesting, I think, going into the next couple of chapters and so on. And the other thing, final thing, is just, will the anime, which is starting in a couple of weeks for Boruto, is it going to start with basically aspects of this manga chapter? Or what? That'll be interesting to see. Or are they kind of separate stories, or different stories set at different points in time, or what? That's going to be an interesting question, but I'm going to end the video there. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this chapter, the first chapter of new material in a long time. Yeah, just there, that's been the video, that's been my review. Thanks for watching, and bye.